Hello everyone and welcome to the webinar. My name is Charlotte and I'll be monitoring the chat and helping if you have any technical issues throughout. Today we'll be focusing on 1Integrate 4.0 and your host for today will be Charlie Glynn and I'll hand over to him shortly. Before we begin, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items. You've all been placed on mute, however, we welcome your comments and questions by typing these into the question panel. We will address these at the end of today's webinar in the Q&A session. If we don't get a chance to answer your question, don't worry, we will follow up with you afterwards. Finally, today's webinar is being recorded and we will share the link with you after the webinar via email. Okay, over to you, Charlie.
Thank you, Charlotte, and thank you everybody for joining. This afternoon we're going to be talking about what's new in 1Integrate, specifically since we launched version 4 earlier in the year. We'll be taking a look at what the new features, the new functionality, what new capabilities that offers, and then we'll talk a bit about what we need to do in order to migrate and upgrade. So I'm Charlie Glynn, I'm Senior Product Manager at OneSpatial, and I predominantly look after 1Integrate. So I'm going to start with a few slides to act as a bit of a refresher on the product. So 1Integrate is our core rules engine product that kind of sits at the center of the OneSpatial platform. We recently released OneCapture for mobile. This is about capturing your data right first time out in the field. And we also have One Data Gateway, which acts as an online portal and a front end for 1Integrate, allowing end users to quickly and easily submit their data for submission and get their data checked, validated, corrected, and all of the good things that 1Integrate can do. Now, this is all underpinned by kind of consistent rules and actions, and we'll talk a little bit about those as we go through. And I've put the cloud on this slide just to show that the platform is all available in the cloud as software as a service, and I'll talk a bit more as well about the benefits of how that can improve your kind of time to value. So a little bit more about 1Integrate and the features. Now, I'm assuming most of you will be familiar with 1Integrate. As I say, this is just for a bit of a refresher. So 1Integrate is ultimately a no-code rules engine. At the core of it, it's all about measuring your data quality and also fixing and enhancing data. And what's great about the rules engine and storing those rules is that it acts as knowledge management. It takes all of that business rule information and knowledge from your internal systems, from your notepads, from your brains, and we store it all within 1Integrate. Now, what that means is that it's reusable, it's shareable. We can take our rules, we can edit them, and we can share them across different projects, across different teams. And with the REST API, we can automate all of our kind of workflows and sessions. 1Integrate has lots of different data connectors, so there's lots of different data formats that are supported within 1Integrate. As I mentioned, it's a cloud-based application. Now, many of you may take and install 1Integrate on premise, so there are flexible deployment options. As I said, I'll talk a little bit about the benefits of the SaaS shortly. 1Integrate can work with kind of any structured data really, whether that's spatial, non-spatial, 2D or even 3D, and it's all accessed by your users via the browser or API. And being a browser-based application means that it's really accessible for your team members. It's a really great tool for collaboration, can really enable you to kind of share the data management, data ownership across various teams, which in many cases is really important to get that buy-in and that ownership of your kind of key data assets, rather than it being locked into just one team. So these are some of the key capabilities of 1Integrate. As I say, lots of you on the call today will be using 1Integrate currently, familiar with some of the capabilities, but you may not be familiar with the full breadth and depth of what 1Integrate is capable of. So say largely around kind of managing your key data assets, help you conform to the standards and specifications to which are required by your data integration, and then also data quality and transformation. So when we talk about data quality, obviously we use the rules for validating our data, and we can also cleanse and enrich our data as well. And one of the really nice and flexible, configurable parts of 1Integrate is the ability to create reports that suit your exact needs. And our reporting is really accurate. I'll give you one example of a type of report that we can create within 1Integrate. So if your users are, let's say, users from a GIS team, they'll be very familiar with working within a GIS. So within 1Integrate, you can validate your data and then get the results of those. So any kind of inaccuracies or non-conformances within your data, they can be reported out in a spatial file format. And that's then really easy for your user to kind of overlay within their GIS and pinpoint those errors and those issues kind of quickly, efficiently, and accurately. And then on the data transformation side, we have lots of examples of kind of moving data from system A to system B. So lots of those kind of typical digital transformation and data migration kind of projects. And we can also use 1Integrate rules to infer data, and this could get quite interesting, where we can infer kind of new data or missing data based on existing data sets and kind of historical data points and information. And then of course integrating various data sets, conflating that data into a kind of single source using unique IDs and the like as your golden thread. Now 1Integrate enables all of these things to be done in an automated fashion, which gives you repeatable processes. And as I say, it's very flexible and configurable, and those processes and those rules are then easy to kind of share with others and reuse and repurpose. And that's really quite a powerful thing. So you'll never, moving forward, you don't have to start from scratch. Your project can be ready to go on day one. And really, ultimately, what 1Integrate is all about is enabling you to ensure that your key data assets are fit for purpose. And fit for purpose can mean, means different things to different people. It may be the same data set used in different projects. Fit for purpose may have a different definition across those projects. So it's just ensuring, putting the tools in your hand to enable you to ensure that your data is fit for purpose, ready to be used. It's clean, it's accurate, and you can have confidence in the decisions that you make from that data. So moving on to what's new in 1Integrate, I thought I'd start with this image, as anybody familiar with previous versions of 1Integrate might be quite surprised that this is 1Integrate version 4. The biggest difference and the biggest improvement that we've made is to the user interface. So immediately it's apparent that we've made some changes, and we've made all these changes based on months of working with our users, getting user feedback, and working through kind of design process in order to land on what we're really pleased is a new user interface for 1Integrate version 4 and moving forward. Now I'll talk a bit more about some of the new features. First of all, we can categorize some of the enhancements and improvements that we've made. The big thing and the most evident and apparent thing is that improved user experience, including the new interface. But we've also done other things like improving the underlying core technology and making the product making our users more productive by ensuring that the product is more kind of efficient to use. So our users are going to be getting these productivity gains. Let's have a dive into some of those feature highlights. And this is just a small slice of all the changes that we've made in the last 12 to 18 months. As I say, the headline act really is the brand new user interface. And I'll be going through in more detail some of those improvements and changes that we've made. We've also improved our online documentation in line with this. We have new user permissions, and this is certainly one thing to be aware of when you're upgrading, that the new user permissions will need to be changed. We have a new map viewer. We have comments throughout the interface, so you can leave comments in your rules, in your actions, and also in your sessions. And we'll talk about how helpful those can be. We have a new error catcher within our rules and actions, so we have a try catch option, and a really nice new feature, which is a rule and action debugger. So you can record and replay your rules and actions and then troubleshoot those in this nice new interface. And there's a whole list, as I say, of other additional features. We just don't have time today to go through the detail of all of them, but they can always be found in the release notes on the 1Integrate documentation. So please do feel free to have a look through there. As I say, there's lots of different additional features, enhancements, bug fixes that you may be interested in. So worth having a look through those release notes. I'll just pick a couple of the things from this list to discuss. So non-spatial filters. For a long time now, within a 1Integrate session, you've been able to filter your data based on a spatial filter. We more recently added the ability to also implement non-spatial filters. And this is really making sure that you're only processing the data in your session that's relevant. And we've made further improvements within those non-spatial filters. You can now add those to different task types and add more conditions within those filters as well. The ability to bookmark a resource. So if there's something that you're working on a lot, within the day, within the week, then you can bookmark that resource within the 1Integrate interface, and that makes it just really easy to navigate to and find as you're working through that. Session parameters. So these have previously only been able to add those through the REST API. You can now add session parameters via the interface itself, and session parameters can be really powerful. They can be called within a rule or an action and help drive like a kind of data-driven rule or action. We've also included some new fixed schema options, which may be of interest if you're using lookups or inheritance, so maybe some reference type stuff. And we continue to improve the API as well. Plus, as I say, lots more. So I'm going to go in a bit more detail about some of those features now before I give a demo of the new interface. So the first thing to talk about is the brand new user interface. So as I say, this followed months of usability testing, really getting under the skin of our users' kind of pain points and problems, and making sure that 1Integrate is kind of easier to use than ever before. Onboarding for new users is much easier, and just a modernized kind of interface, and a kind of familiar interface. So similar in some ways in terms of navigation to lots of the tools that we'll all be using on a daily basis. So ultimately, much more intuitive and a nice modern design to give us a great platform to move forward with. As part of this update, there's a whole new rule and action authoring interface, a new rule builder. This is probably the biggest difference that you will spot when you're upgrading and starting to use 1Integrate version 4. The new rule builder is much more dynamic. You're kind of guided through step by step the building of your rule or action, and we really tried to help minimize kind of mistakes. So you'll be flagged up if it's required for an input, and any errors are kind of clearly displayed, and you can work through those easily. So by the end of your work, you know that you're going to have a rule or an action that is kind of valid and is going to work for you. And as I say, modernized interface, a big part of that, obviously, beyond the colors and the fonts, is the use of icons. We've got nice kind of intuitive icons now, supporting all of the different elements within 1Integrate. So all those key resource types are going to be really easy to kind of pick and choose from the drop-down lists and things. As I say, just cleaner, clearer, much more intuitive. It's going to help with that visual recognition. And a really important one, again, is the improved search and navigation throughout the entire interface. So on every screen, you'll see that there's a filter button, like in the image on the slide, and you can click this and you'll be able to search for various things, whether that's in a data store and you're searching for classes or attributes, whether that's in a rule and you're searching for various nodes or classes or values within your rule, or again, whether that's within a session and you're filtering, you can look at all sessions that have completed with a map, for example. So it really is just enabling you to find exactly what you need much more quickly and efficiently. And again, hand in hand with that is the use of right-click context menus. So you can always find the option, the button that you need wherever your cursor is on the screen. So we make much more use now of the right button, and also of kind of shortcut keys and keyboard instructions. So this is going to be, again, very familiar with other applications that we're using day to day. Things like, cut, copy, paste, duplicate, and as I mentioned earlier, those kind of bookmarks, and if we're adding or deleting entities as well. It's the functionality you need exactly where you need it. And this is an image of the new rule builder, and we will get into that in a bit more detail. I will give it a demo shortly. We've also introduced a new map viewer. So we've always had for a long time the ability to check your data on the map once you've run your session, and we've just updated the underlying map libraries and improved the kind of visual elements of the map viewer within 1Integrate. And obviously that's now much more in line with the rest of the interface, and it's going to be, again, much more familiar with the type of online map viewers that we've all become so accustomed to using so regularly within our kind of daily lives and our working days. This new map viewer is much more robust, so it's going to be a more reliable experience, and it gives us a great kind of extendable platform to build on in the future. And we have some really exciting ideas about how we can continue to adapt and evolve the map viewer. And again, there's an image of the map viewer. On immediate glance, it's going to be sort of very different to what you've been used to previously. Now, a really important feature, this is one that was requested a lot, and is actually proving to be incredibly helpful to our users already, is the ability to add comments like inline comments. So these are directly adding them to a rule, an action, or indeed your session. Now, these are really helpful in aiding collaboration if you're working across teams, across projects. They're also really useful for just leaving yourself a reminder for the future, or indeed, popping down any ideas or questions for your colleagues. Yeah, as I say, one of those really great features for enabling collaboration. And we have the rule and action replay debugger. So again, this is something that Our users said they were spending a lot of time kind of debugging their rules or actions before they were kind of happy that they were 100% correct. So we've now created a debugger directly within the product itself. So you can run a rule or an action in a session and have it recorded. And once you've recorded that rule, you can then view it within the debugger. This is a nice new kind of interface where you have the rule on one side of your screen and a map view on the other side of your screen, and it gives you the ability to step through one step at a time, step in or out, add a break point and run it through to that break point. But what it gives you the opportunity to do is see exactly what's happened at every stage of your rule or action, and that's really powerful because you'll be able to immediately spot where there's a problem or an error or an issue. So this one really is a huge time saver. And that's what the rule debugger looks like. As I say, you have that visual kind of tree diagram of your rule on the left-hand side, and then the map view on the right-hand side. That screen is kind of collapsible. You can move that left or right, expand the map out as much as you need. And then in the bottom left-hand side, that's where we have the buttons from which we can step through, step in, step out, step to the end. And as we do so, not only will the rule update and the values that are created at every step, but also the map on the right-hand side will also update to show what the geometries look like at that stage of the rule. So as I say, a real powerful tool inbuilt within the product, and a real efficiency gain, productivity gain. So at that point, I'll just pop out there and we'll dive into 1Integrate. And we'll take a look at the new interface once I can log in. There we go. So what you may notice is from some of the screen grabs that I was showing on the slides, that was in dark mode. 1Integrate will always default to light mode, but that's one of the options that we now have, and we can swap. We can change between light mode and dark mode. We know that lots of people kind of prefer working in a dark mode kind of environment. This can help with things like eye strain. If you're on a kind of tablet or device, it can also save battery power to some extent. Personally, it is my favorite. So for the rest of the demo, I will stick with the dark mode. So just a quick tour of the interface. As you'll see, we have the header across the top, have some information about our user in the top right-hand side. And in the bottom left-hand side, on this left-hand navigation bar, we have a button which would take us straight to the online documentation. We can flip between light and dark themes. And we also have an admin dashboard that will show us some information about our engines, jobs that have been recently processed. We can see information about our interface, and we can see straight away on this 1Integrate we have two engines available. They're not running any jobs at the moment, and there are no jobs queued on those. So I can see at a glance that those two engines are up, ready, and available to be used. One of the other admin options is to add API keys, revoke API keys. So all of that kind of API key administration management. And there are other options within this admin dashboard as well. That is going to be totally dependent on which permissions are made available to the user. So then we come up to the left-hand side, and we'll look at the really interesting stuff. So we'll start with our data stores. So not too dissimilar from previous versions of 1Integrate, just a nice kind of cleaner update to the same kind of screen. So you'll see our list of classes in our data store. We can expand that to see the list of attributes. It's really nice and easy to do things like adding custom attributes, and we can nice and easily change the types and that kind of stuff. So that's really data stores. We have our configuration behind this button here. to select our kind of data store type, our data format, upload our data, and choose any of our other settings, including the new fixed schema options. If we come across now and take a look at a rule, we'll see this, as I say, this is really where you're going to see the biggest difference within the new interface. As you can see, we have a new layout for rules, this kind of node-based kind of tree, where we make much better use of horizontal and vertical space. And talking about making use of space, so the left-hand panel is always collapsible. That can give us more screen real estate when we're kind of working on our rule. They can often get, rules and actions can get quite long, quite complex. So this just allows us to make the most use when we're kind of working on that and navigating around. We can also collapse the right-hand panel if we need to do so. So clicking on any of these nodes is going to bring up the kind of options for that on the right-hand side, and we always get a preview of what that node is doing. So as we click through, that will become kind of relevant to the node that we have selected. Now, one of the things I mentioned earlier was the ability to add comments, and also the ability or the better use of right mouse button and context menus. So if I right click on any of my nodes in this rule, then one of the options I have is to add a comment, and I can do that here as such. And that's really nice and easy to do. We have an update coming in the next version of 1Integrate as well, where we can start to add color to our comments. So if you do happen to have a kind of long and complex rule, then you can really start to kind of bookmark elements of that by using these comments and differentiating those using color. We still have the ability to add descriptions and comments in the top here as well. So there's always lots of use of metadata. We can always see when an entity was updated, created, and also what other kind of parts of 1Integrate are making use of that entity as well, which is a really nice way to navigate between various resources. So let's jump over and have a quick look at the session screen as well. So here's a session that has previously been run, and we can see our list of tasks. So we open some data at the top, we then run a bunch of rules, and then we end with a pause in order to finish with a map. And we can see that at a glance, we can see the results of those rules. We get the conformance percentages. We can then click for more information to get a detailed report. This will show us all of those features in the data set that didn't conform to our rule. We can download those in JSON format as well if we wish. And then we also have the new map viewer, where we can go and take a look at our data and see how that changed throughout the session as well. So if I click on this particular rule here that had 37.5% conformance, we will then see the reports of those non-conformances on the map. One thing we can do is start to turn certain layers on and off if we're not interested in them. Obviously, we can zoom in and out. We can tilt the map, navigate around. This will also work with 3D data. We can sort of stylistically change the data if we want to view it in different ways. We can make them all wireframe, or we can add the fills. And then if we want to take a closer look at the report, so the information coming out of our rules and those results, then we can use the report tab here to kind of cycle through each of those features one at a time. So I can see immediately that I had 5 non-conformances from this particular rule, and it's just nice and easy to kind of click through those and get the information about each feature. Now, obviously, this is really helpful for doing a quick sanity check within 1Integrate, but of course, this information can be exported as well. So really, that is a really quick kind of demo of the new kind of 1Integrate look and feel. I think you appreciate it's quite a big change. It's much easier to use now, much more intuitive. as I say, it's going to be much better for onboarding new users as well. So I'll just come back to the slides to summarize. So what are the benefits of upgrading? Why should you upgrade? So there's various reasons. One of them is, obviously to make use of all these new features and functionality. Another is because we're constantly fixing bugs and making the product more stable. It'd be in your interest to upgrade and keep up to date with those fixes. So say much improved user experience, especially with this new user interface. Also security enhancements, again, staying up to date means that you're going to avoid any security vulnerabilities, and keeping up to date and accessing all the kind of support and updates that are available. It's worth noting as well, we have really good online training modules. They've all been updated with version 4, so that can be a useful refresher, or it can be great, as I say, for onboarding any new users to 1Integrate. And as I say, you may be sat there considering a move to a SaaS model, and that really can be a big advantage in terms of reducing your time to value, and also in terms of upgrades and updates and patches and things like that. We're going to take care of that for you, so that's one additional effort that you don't need to carry out yourself. But before any consideration to upgrade, please do review the release notes as mentioned, check that the system requirements are in line with what you're using, and sort of evaluate any impact that may have on your existing workflows or integrations. We have lots of support available when you are upgrading, so please talk to your kind of OneSpatial account manager or representative. In terms of resources that we have available, so our online documentation, to say that's all been updated in line with the new version. Every time we release a version of 1Integrate, the docs is also released. We treat our documentation just like we treat our code, so that's always going to be the latest and greatest. Release notes, as I say, lots of really important information in those release notes about new features, new fixes, any changes, anything to be careful of or mindful of when you're doing your upgrade. We also, because obviously the release of version 4 to a major version, we also released a migration guide, so you can find that linked through from the online documentation as well. We're really pleased to also have launched a playlist of introductory videos. You can find those on the OneSpatial YouTube channel, and they introduce lots of the new features that I've discussed today in a bit more detail with some kind of hands-on demonstrations. And we do have really good online training modules as well. That's all available to you as customers of OneSpatial. If you've not been through the training modules previously, then please do get in touch. They can be run as self-led courses online from kind of basic through to advanced. We can also do those on-premise or instructor-led online if that is preferred. In terms of a one-stop shop to find all these things, then I'd recommend onespatial.com/1Integrate. That's where you'll find all the information about the product. And just a bit of the roadmap really to show you where we've come from kind of over the last 12 months or so, and also a look ahead at where we're going. Because version 4 is one milestone in the product, but really it's just the start of another new exciting chapter for 1Integrate. So this kind of shows a potted history of what we've released since November last year. You'll see on that list there's lots of new data stores, so we're supporting more and more data formats. The new user interface was the kind of headline of version 4, but coming alongside that is lots of other new functionality and new capabilities as well. We've continued that, so just recently over the summer we relaunched 4.1. Again, lots of new functionality, but also continuing to enhance that new interface as well. And we're currently busy working away on version 4.2. The headline there will be the new kind of CAD data stores, so supporting DWG and DGN formats, native within 1Integrate itself, and improvements to kind of inheritance and reference, and again continuing to constantly update and improve that user interface. So that's it from me today. Hopefully that's been really useful. Hopefully you can see the benefit of the new functionality, of the new features, the new capabilities that this can bring to yourself and your teams, and hopefully you're keen to kind of upgrade and start benefiting from those. So yeah, please utilize those resources that I mentioned, both online, but of course, as always, feel free to reach out to OneSpatial as well. We'll be really keen to help you on that journey as well. So that was it from me. Thank you very much. I don't know if there have been any questions come through, Charlotte.
Yeah, there's been a couple. Thank you for that, Charlie. That was great. So I know you have just mentioned the videos again, so I think this person might have missed it. But just to recap, you mentioned that you have some videos available, but I missed where they are. Where can I find them?
Oh, cool. Yeah. So the videos can be found on YouTube. So they exist as a kind of playlist, a 1Integrate playlist. So you'll find those on the OneSpatial YouTube channel.
Okay, and another customer has asked, we use One Data Gateway with 1Integrate. Has One Data Gateway been updated too?
Yeah, absolutely. So every time we release a new version of 1Integrate, there will be a kind of version of One Data Gateway that works alongside it. Obviously, with version 4, that was a major release, so there were some changes that One Data Gateway needed to adopt. So yeah, absolutely, we have a version of One Data Gateway that works with version 4 of 1Integrate. As I say, we continue that with every single release.
Perfect. And another question, I would like to get some of my team trained up on 1Integrate. What training is available and how can we access it?
Yeah, cool. So yeah, we have some really nice training modules available for 1Integrate, and they start from basic, as I say, moving through to more kind of advanced things within building rules and actions. That is available from our online training platform. That you can get in touch with as I say, your OneSpatial support or your OneSpatial representative, and we can get you access to the training, make that available to people that require that. That can just be done online. It can be self-led, or we can indeed run those courses as instructor-led courses as well. So that's really up to you how you prefer to take that.
Brilliant, thanks for that, Charlie. And that's all the questions that I've got. So thank you, everyone. Thank you all for your time, and thank you, Charlie, for your time. It was brilliant. We will speak to you all soon.
Cool. Thank you very much.